Hi, and welcome to Book Talk with Leni, because I talk about books, and I'm Leni. Now, this video is gonna be a little bit different, because I'm actually gonna talk instead about and share my opinion and views on certain things about the entire Book Talk community, and these certain things have been an issue and or topics for a while. And I feel like I just want to give my 5 cents. So first of all, I want to say this is no way any shape or form of bashing anything or anyone. These are just my opinions and things that I've noticed over the past few years that I have been on Book Talk and in the bookish community. This is nothing. This is just me stating an opinion and thinking of my side of view of what I believe is going on. So let's just get into it. It is no mystery that the Book Talk community and like the entire hobby in general have increased and gained a lot more popularity over the past few years. And where there's popularity, there comes criticism. I believe actually that all of these are in fact interconnected, from overconsumption to bad books being published. It feels like a big one overall issue that is interconnected. Beginning with the overall consumption. It has been addressed multiple times, not just by me, by literally everybody, and it is a very much big issue and real topic. But this isn't just a book related topic, it is an overall issue that most communities experience. It is in the makeup community, in the hair art community, everywhere. Like everywhere there is a community, there is overconsumption. It ranges from buying huge amount of one thing or multiple things by buying extras such as accessories or gadgets that add to overconsumption and lead to a huge amount of overconsumption in our generation. And also in Book Talk, it's a very, very real issue. And I believe due to Book Talk's huge popularity, it has started a massive overconsumption problem, from buying excessive books, ordering excessive amount of book mail, and applying to get a lot of books for free. But let me start at the beginning. Initially, Book Talk was a community. It started with a hashtag booktalk, for people who have been bookworms their entire life, getting interested in the hobby and starting to read. Though this is not a new thing. Book Talk did not start on TikTok, though the hashtag booktalk did start on Book Talk, since a lot of communities do have a talk to it, like makeup talk, whatever, you get the gist. But I do believe, due to TikTok being one of the most used apps, a huge marketing push for all kinds of companies, I believe it is the main source of its popularity. It started with people sharing their favorite reads, talking about new releases, sharing book reviews, sharing their opinions on books, which ended up in a huge aesthetic program. There are, of course, still all the things I mentioned above, but I feel like the whole purpose of Book Talk has become to just be aesthetic, presenting aesthetic, and being aesthetic content, especially content. And that is not a huge discovery. That has been a thing, and it is a thing that is mainly the most important part of social media, because social media is fake. And I feel like they took something very, very normal and a thing that has been around for years and made it into aesthetics. Which brings us to the start of this issue, and I've been sitting on this thought for a while now, for a few years actually, and I want to state that this is not any mean things that I've been thinking about. I think I even started like that. Now that's totally fine, because you have to start somewhere. And again, not that there is anything wrong with that, I have to state this. I think it's often because the same books that have been mentioned on Book Talk, the books get recognized outside of the community. And I'm not saying all books that gain that sort of popularity are like this. Like, for example, the most known books on Book Talk are in fact like ACOTAR or It Ends With Us or Fourth Wing. These are books that have been like gone out of their way outside of the community, because if you ask someone if they are into reading, they said, no, I'm not really into reading, but I've read this and this books, it's a 99% chance that one of those books they read is that book. And like I said, it's not always all books that have made it outside of the community are like this. But if you noticed, most of these books are not hard to read. And with that I mean they are not complicated, they're not complex, they're a fun read. It's known as a fun read. A book that is easy to read makes you fall in love with reading. And that's a good thing. It's usually a book that is pretty easy and makes you realize you find yourself back into a hobby that you maybe lost over the years, or something you never even considered. And like I said, not all books are like that, but a lot of books. And that's, like I said, a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's okay. I mention this though, because I believe it's where the cycle starts. It starts with one book, leading into buying a few more books, maybe from the same author, maybe in the same genre, maybe in the same type of style. You're finding what you like to read. You kind of fall into a spiral of buying more books than you actually can read. Like, I don't know if anyone is the same way, but if I start to find a new hobby, I fall into it. I spend a lot of money and like kind of go out of my way to get an expert and then just leaving it behind. Also starting buying books out of your comfort zone, and perhaps because they are either popular or have a nice cover to it, which comes into the entire aesthetic thing. And I'm saying out of your comfort zone. If you start with something that is considered easy and then you start buying into books that are really complex and not really your type of reading, they may be a harder read. That's where the competition comes in. And that is a huge issue on BookTok. It has also made a huge impact. Competition that I'm talking about is that you have to read so many books. Though I believe that most of these goals and standards aren't even set by readers who read fast. If you aren't familiar with the terms fast reader or slow reader, though they're pretty self-explanatory. One person can read up to maybe 500 words per minute, and another one can read about 80. Both of these are super okay. There is no way that you have to read a certain amount of words or books in a year to make yourself a real reader. And there's nothing wrong with that, not being a fast reader. The start of setting high reading goals and the pressure on certain people has risen, making them feel they're not real readers if they can't read a book a day. That leads to more issues. People, and I feel like that's where also the competition really comes in. They think they have to read 100 books a year. 100 books a year has become pretty standard on BookTok, that people always set 100 books as their reading goal. Because they think they have to finish 100 books a year, they feel compelled to finish every book they start. Another term that is often used in the BookTok community is DNF, which means for did not finish. For example, I DNF'd a book, meaning I did not finish a book. Why am I even mentioning this? From personal experience, if I push myself into a book I don't enjoy, it usually ends up with me being in a reading slump. A reading slump being I am in no interest to read. I'm in no mood to read anymore. That it was really hard for me to find another book that makes me want to fall in love with reading again, if that makes sense. I feel the pressure to read a certain amount of books a year makes people feel that they can't and they shouldn't DNF a book, just to add it to their yearly reading count. They think they have to finish, which leads them to a reading slump. I'm saying this like, I feel like people say they can't physically DNF a book, or they just want to finish the book because it's a waste if they don't. And I feel like that is very internalized of thinking you have to finish the book. And I feel like that is a very big reason why a lot of people end up in reading slumps. And I'm very much pro DNFing. I try to tell people as much as I can, DNF those books. I will not read a book if it's not fun. DNFing a book does not mean you cannot pick it up later. DNFing a book doesn't mean you cannot read it ever. It's still on your shelf. You can always go back. I'm saying all of this because from my experience, if I'm in a reading slump, I go out to buy new books, thinking more choices, new choices will help me find my way back, which leads to buying more stuff. And that's also where the overconsumption comes in. Because overconsumption isn't just buying a lot of books, like loads of books, like buying a lot of books all in one go, going to the bookstore multiple times a week and buying over 100 bucks of books. It's also about the accessories one buys. I feel like a lot of the aesthetic videos that are popular on the app, and once again, TikTok is all about aesthetics. It's all about the visual. It's all about how you present it. And I feel like because people cannot make content with the books they're reading, they're going out of their way to make aesthetic videos with accessories and gadgets and stuff we don't actually need, which pushes one to think, oh, if I have that, I'm a real reader, if that makes sense. I feel like because of these videos also, people go buy new books for a new shelf, so they have a nice shelf for their background and to make videos, and accessories for content. While this is normal, it is normal to buy certain accessories if that is some bookmarks or some bookends, something to make your space feel more safe or more beautiful for your own self. But I feel like this is coming from a point that it's just about content and making views and likes. I also believe that the actual point of reading is getting lost along the way. Because I've already mentioned that some people will read some what is known as trashy books or easy read books or just fun books, which is nothing wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing with reading trashy books. Leads me to my next point, the statement of bad books getting published. People always forget it's all about demand. If you ask, you get, if that makes sense. That's how marketing works. I feel like people don't understand that BookTok authors or Wattpad books aren't necessarily bad. Back when I was younger, and I'm only 20, so you know what I mean. So like back in the early 2010s, authors started their journey on Wattpad or AO3. If you don't know what AO3 is, it's Archive of Our Own. And now they started self-publishing. And I think that is because these apps are now mainly used for fan fiction. And that's not a bad thing. That's just how things grow and evolve. And new authors have to start somewhere else. Everybody needs to start somewhere, and in this day and age, it's a fact that one has the opportunity to publish. BookTok is a great way to start and help smaller authors, even if they're just at the beginning of their career. It's like saying artists, like new artists, shouldn't post their art on Instagram. They need to start somewhere. And again, it's all about demand. And a new author may not be the next Jane Austen writing books that will change the world, but they may create fun reads that make people love the hobby. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's actually a good thing. There's so much diversity you can choose to read or not read. Just because someone enjoys smutty, not so well-written books and fun book, that doesn't mean you have to. This gatekeeping of books is insane. If you don't like a certain type of book, you don't have to read it. Nobody's forcing you, but the same goes for the other side. You might not like smutty books, but someone else does. Why are you trying to change them? Y'all are focusing on the wrong thing. There's so much good that can come from BookTok, from helping small authors grow, make them recognized. I mean, Cassandra Clare is the author of the Shadowhunter Chronicles. She started her journey on Wattpad. Let's imagine she would be starting her career like in this day and age. She would start on BookTok. That's how people start. I mean, the author of Fourth Wing, Rebecca Yarros, she has written some books, but she was not as popular as she's now with Fourth Wing. And that is because from BookTok. BookTok is so good in these days for publishing, for marketing, for letting people know. The internet is so easy, like, to introduce yourself. In conclusion, I'm saying that all of these things may be interconnected. In this day and age of technology, we're focused on how to present things, to empathize aesthetics. And I feel like there are good and bad sides to it. We have to know a limit. It's always a problem if there's too much of something. And same goes for BookTok. I'm not saying the overconsumption is good. It's not. There's an absolute problem. Like, I'm not a saint for that. I have a problem with buying too many books. And I do read them, but maybe I buy too many books before I actually read them. I do end up always reading my books, but maybe like a year later, and I'm thinking maybe I should have just bought it then. I cannot change that now, but I think I can change going forward. And like I said, this is not just a BookTok issue. This is a whole issue. It's all about content and making people buy stuff, even if it's not a placement ad and paid ad or initially made something like that. I think that the whole BookTok community has drifted apart from what it's actually supposed to do, and that is talk about books, because most of these days it's just barely talking about books, but talking. And I'm not entirely, like, I'm a victim of that. I'm some victim of that I mainly make content about, oh, I spend a lot of money on books, oh, when I go to the bookstore. And I do make videos about, oh my god, when I read and stuff, if that makes sense. But a lot of the times it's just, let's go to the bookstore, let's spend some money. And I feel like that is what is popular, and that is the problem on social media, again, with it's all about demand. Videos about going to the bookstore, making a lot of content about unboxings, hauls, that's what makes it popular, right? And showing a beautiful bookcase, like beautiful bookshelf, reorganizing bookshelves, showing a big pile of book mail. That's popular. That's what people make popular. And I think that's where we have to start with this whole issue. Let's not push that it's a good thing. Yes, everybody's entitled to do whatever they want with their money. That is obviously their choice. But we as watchers, I still find myself always looking at unboxings, like book unboxings. I still watch them. I like them. That's pushing it. We're pushing it. Hating on it will not make a difference. You can make a difference by not engaging and not participating. I feel like there's so much else we can do in just hating. Okay, if you want to see a difference, you have to start making a difference. There was a lot of talking. If you share any of my views and opinions on this, let me know. Like I said, this is nothing, no hate, no specific person I mean in this video. And I've been sitting on this for a while, and I feel like I can always complain. Like I said, I can start participating and speaking up on it. And this is just my view on someone who works in marketing as well, and I'm just curious if you see or agree or disagree. Let's all be respectful, and if you like this video and if you want to see more, give it a like, follow. If not, that's cool, we're chill. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.